The key to growing your agency is ultimately building systems and processes that you can plug other people into to then take yourself out of the equation and continue to scale. My name's Gavin. I make these videos to just document my own journey, provide advice where I can to people who are in a similar position, and really just to have a little bit of fun. So if you like these videos, subscribe to the channel, check out my other stuff as well, newsletter in the description. Comment down below if you have any questions. I literally answer anything and everything. I've got nothing going on in my life. But without wasting any more of your time, let me tell you how I've built systems and processes for my agency, which at the time of recording is doing about 80K a month in revenue, USD. And I can just explain really how it's worked. So the first thing I did when I built my agency was I learned the steps to fulfill the service. And while I was fulfilling the service, I was documenting my journey. And by documenting, I mean writing out every single step, in my case, using Asana. I'm a big fan of Asana. I know people use Monday or ClickUp, whatever. I prefer Asana, use whatever you want. But what I would do is I would build out basically step one, onboarding the client, and I would write down everything I'd need to get from the client. I'd even write out emails that I'd send regularly, like, hey, excited to be working with you. Here's what you need to do next. And I built out a whole series of SOPs that essentially, depending on the service offering, outlined every single step required from start to finish to fulfill the service. Now, in order to build an SOP around a service, your service needs to be somewhat generic. And it's hard to say that because at the end of the day, to get a really good service, there needs to be some level of customization in there. And for my agency, we do have customization, but we've built standard processes around that customization. For example, in email and SMS marketing, there's really three types of work that we can do for e-commerce businesses. There's sign-up forms, there's campaigns, and there's flows. Within those three services that we can offer, there is customization, but we can productize and essentially build a system around how we deliver each of those three services. So what I did is I created a Asana board for each product service that we sell: sign-up forms, flows, or automations, and campaigns. And I documented the journey from start to finish of me fulfilling that service to the client in a way, and I wrote it in a way that allows for somebody else to come into the business, right, and actually see my instructions and follow them to the letter. I try and make it as clear, plain, and simple as possible for anyone to follow so that I can take literally anybody, pop them into that SOP document or into the Asana board, and they can follow it from start to finish and fulfill it. That's how you build systems that allow you to scale your agency. Because the bigger you grow, the less time you're gonna have to spend actually fulfilling these services. And you'll need to outsource that stuff to people who can help you, i.e. employees. So what you do, build out the SOPs, make them super clear, and as you work, you wanna find things that go wrong. And when something goes wrong, that is good, because it allows you to build a system or essentially a standard operating procedure that prevents it from happening again in the future. And you document it. And you consistently document as you run more and more people through it and become more and more efficient, more and more clear in your instructions, to the point that you could literally get a dog and assign it a task in Asana and it can follow it. Obviously, that's a joke, duh, right? If you can't figure that out, probably shouldn't be watching this video. But nonetheless, you need to build those systems and processes that make it easy. Now, once you have those systems and processes for the fulfillment of your service, as you scale, you will need to standardize other operations within your business. Now, what does that look like? So the fulfillment side of things is probably one of the first things you're gonna start outsourcing as your company scales, right? You're gonna be outsourcing aspects of that fulfillment process until you eventually outsource the entire thing. And I've made a video about this, so check out my channel if you wanna learn about that stuff. But what I recommend when you scale and when you're deciding what you wanna outsource, you wanna find the most tedious task that is the lowest cost to outsource that takes you the most time. As an email marketer, for me, it was designing emails. Designing emails took the most amount of time. So what I did is I built an SOP around that, and then I hired somebody to solely focus on the design part of actually fulfilling the service offering, right? Designing emails, designing sign-up forms. And as I grew, I could add people to that part of the business, or really hire one person full-time to do it all for all of my clients. And then I found the next thing that took even longer or required more skill to actually fulfill, which in this case became copywriting. So then I had a copywriter who I could outsource the copy to, freed up more of my time, and then builder, and then project manager, and so on and so forth. The core part of this video though is you want to really focus on just building SOPs. I know everybody talks about using AI and systems and rah. It's not really there yet. And I think you're still going to need the human element to fulfill a lot of these things, especially if you're, in a client-facing agency where, there's customization in your service delivery. So building SOPs that people can follow as an instruction manual is all you really need to do. I use Asana for my stuff. You can use ClickUp, you can use anything. And as your business grows, your role will change. And as your role changes, you need to constantly be documenting what you're doing from an SOP perspective, right? Like for me now, recording this YouTube video, there's an SOP for my video editor to follow that makes it super clear what is needed to be done, as well as my SEO checklist guy for the SEO of this video, so on and so forth, making it so that I don't have to do it and I can give it to anybody to fulfill. I hope that makes sense. Once again, I don't really have anything to sell you in these videos, so if you like it, subscribe, check out the other channel if you want to learn about email and SMS marketing, check out my newsletter, validate my existence, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.